Hello guys and welcome to another part of our Python beginners tutorial, and in this tutorial we're going to talk about variables. So let's start with variables. So before we go to the Python, we need to talk about information in general. So the Python language and all the other programming languages are working with the information. Now, information is a very general term, and in order to be specific, we can define information as numbers, words, sentences, the audio, the visual input, right? So everything like this is information. And in order to work with the programming language must store somewhere the information. And a Python language stores this information in variables. Yeah, you can find variables in every other language also. Okay, so let's jump into Visual Studio Code and look how we can define a variable. So I'm back in the Visual Studio Code. As you can see, this is our Hello World file from the last video. And I'm gonna create a new file here. So you can create a file two ways, like clicking here in the top for a new file, or right click and choose the new file. I'm gonna call the new file variables.py. I will provide all this code to you through the web page, the GitHub web page. I will talk more about the GitHub in the next videos, but just feel free to rewrite everything I'm writing here. And it's also a good exercise to rewrite everything. You will learn more with the mistakes you make, so I encourage you to rewrite everything, not just copy paste everything from the website. So I'm in the variables.py and I'm going to specify my first variable. So let's call it a variable. It's very general, and let's assign it. Okay, so if you want to specify a variable, the whole procedure looks like this. Now, having this, you will have a variable with the name variable, which is equal to 1. Okay? So just remember, if you want to define a variable, you need the equal sign, you need the value of the variable, and you need the name of the variable, right? In this case, the name is the variable, and the value is the number 1. Okay? Very easy, right? So now, how would you define a variable with number 2? Simple, variable equals 2. Now, but be careful. The second definition is the definition of the variable with the same name as the first variable, which means it's the same variable. So now you are reassigning the variable with the number 2. Okay? So just be careful. So in order to have two variables, you need to name the second variable differently, like variable 2. Okay? So now it's a good time to specify all the characters which you can use for defining the variable. And the Python documentation specifies the recommended characters as characters from A to Z, capital A to capital Z, the numbers from 0 to 9, and the underscore sign. So you can combine these characters to create the variable names. Now, if you will go through a lot of other tutorials, you will see the teachers and the guys showing you that your first variable should be called something like x equals to something, or y equals to something. And now when I'm here, as you can see, you can put as many space as you want between the variable name, the equal sign, and the equal sign and the value, yes? So feel free. But I recommend you not using spaces. It's a good practice. A lot of professional programmers are not giving the spaces between the variable name and the variable value. Okay, so I was talking about these x and y variables. Now, why is this is bad? So Python language is free for you. You can do whatever you want in the Python. It's not ordering you something, yes? But there is something called best practices in the Python programming world, and these best practices specify how you should write the names. And now these recommendations are very valuable, because many times you are not alone working on the code, and there are other people reading your code. And when you will call the variables like x and y, nobody will know what is this variable used for. Also, the name variable is not good to use. I highly recommend to use some descriptive variables. For example, like number of rooms equals, sorry, the space equals 1, right? And now whenever you will see this variable in the code, you will immediately know that this variable is used for specification of number of rooms. Or for example, name of the sun. Yep. So, and now whenever you will see name of the sun, you will know that this variable stands for name of some sun, right? So, and now when I'm here, the numbers are not the only data type you can use for specify the variable value. Yes, so now I told you that the second part is the value, which is always a certain data type. So 1 is the data type of number. And imagine you want to use a variable for the name of the sun. So in this case, you will specify it like this. So let's call it Michal, right? And now you have the variable with the value of string and with the value of string with the value of Michal, right? You remember our hello world program? There we have something like print hello world. And the hello world which I mentioned is a string, and the definition is exactly the same as in the Michal case, right? Okay, so now we know that these are the variables. Yes, of course, you can use also the capital letters and you can call it something like number of rooms equals to 2. And now be careful. The number of rooms with the capital N and the number of rooms with the lower n are two distinctive different variables, yes? So these two variables are not the same. So be careful. So like a Python language is very sensitive for the capital letters, and you can specify as many variables just by changing the capital letters in the middle. Also, when you specify number of rooms like this is also another variable. So these are three distinctive variables specifying the different number, right? Okay, so this is the way how Python can store the information in variables. But now, yeah, let's say you want to run something, yes? You want to see some output. So for example, if you run this code just like this, with the run Python file in terminal, we won't see any output. And now the reason is we didn't specify any command for Python. We just specified the variables. You remember the hello world? We put there the function print. Yes, that print was a function because it has these round brackets. So in order to, yes, for example, now we want to know the value of the variable number of rooms, the first one, yes? So what will you do? You will just run the print command with the variable name. So number of rooms. Just be careful to correctly rewrite the name of the variable into the function print. So like this. And now you can ask, Michal, well, but where are the double quotes? Yes, so like the hello world, which we did last time. And the answer is simple. In case you are printing a variable, not just the information, you don't need to specify the double quotes, because the Python interpreter will replace this number of rooms with the value of the variable behind the scenes. So now if I run this, guess the output. What will be the output in this case? Do you know? I'll give you time. If you say number 1, you're correct. So as you can see, number 1 is the output, because this number of rooms was replaced with the value of the variable. Yeah, you can also print another variables. So as you can see, Visual Studio Code is recommending us the variable names which we can choose from. So these are all of our 3 variables, and in the first case I output this one, the number of rooms. So now I want to output, for example, this one with the capital O. So if I run it, I will get 1 and 3 because the capital O has 3 inside there. Okay, so this was just the brief about the variables. We will cover more about variables in the future video. The key points you should take away from this video are: you can use small letters, capital letters, and the underscore sign for specifying the variable names. You can rewrite the definition of the variable when you specify the same name twice in the program, and you can output the variable in the print, as the print is replacing the variable name with the variable value behind the scenes. And I also showed you, we shortly talk about the data types, but we will cover more data types in the future. So guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.